There is a joke that Trevor Noah told on stage. It lasted about 20 seconds. It was about Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. And now the First Lady of the United States wants to sue him for $1 billion. $1 billion. Not 1 million, not 10 million, 1 billion. That number is not an accident. That number is a weapon. And if you understand how lawsuits like this actually work, you'll realize something disturbing. The lawsuit itself doesn't matter. The threat is the point. Pay attention to this next part because what's happening to Trevor Noah is part of a much larger legal strategy designed to silence anyone who asks questions about Melania Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And it may be about to backfire in a way the White House did not anticipate. Let me lay this out for you the way a federal prosecutor would. On January 11, 2025, Trevor Noah performed at the Beacon Theater in New York City. During his set, he made a joke. The joke referenced the widely circulated photograph from the year 2000 showing Donald Trump, Melania Trump, then Melania Knus, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell together at Mar-a-Lago. The photograph is real. It was released by the Department of Justice as part of the Epstein Files Transparency Act disclosures. It is a matter of public record. Noah's joke, according to multiple audience members who were present, went something like this. You know how Trump says he barely knew Epstein? Well, Melania knew him pretty well. In fact, some people say that's how they met. The audience laughed. The show continued. Noah moved on to other topics. But that 20-second joke, it triggered a legal response from the East Wing of the White House that tells you everything you need to know about what Melania Trump is actually afraid of. Within days, Melania Trump's personal attorney, Alejandro Bretto, sent a cease and desist letter to Trevor Noah, to his representatives, to Comedy Central, even though Noah no longer works there, and to his current production company. The letter threatened a defamation lawsuit seeking $1 billion in damages. It demanded an immediate public apology. It demanded a full retraction, and it demanded that Noah never reference Melania Trump in connection with Jeffrey Epstein again. Ever. Now, here's what makes this legally significant. Trevor Noah is not a journalist reporting new information. He is a comedian making a joke based on publicly available information. The photograph exists. The connection between Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is documented in released government files. The joke Noah told did not accuse Melania Trump of a crime. It did not claim she participated in Epstein's trafficking operation. It simply referenced a publicly known association and made a satirical comment about it. That is protected speech under the First Amendment. Period. But from a legal strategy perspective, this lawsuit threat is not designed to win in court. It is designed to do something much more effective. Make comedians, journalists, and commentators afraid to talk about Melania Trump and Epstein at all. This is what's called a SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation, and it is one of the most powerful tools available to wealthy, powerful people who want to control the narrative. Not by winning legal arguments, but by making the cost of defending yourself so astronomically high that most people simply decide it's not worth it. Think about what it would cost Trevor Noah to defend himself in a $1 billion defamation lawsuit. Even if he wins, which he almost certainly would because his joke is clearly protected speech, he would spend years in litigation. He would spend millions of dollars on legal fees. He would spend countless hours in depositions, in court filings, in discovery battles. And that is exactly the point. The threat is designed to make him and everyone watching think twice before making another joke. But here's where the legal strategy may backfire, because Trevor Noah has not backed down. And more importantly, his legal team has options that Melania Trump's attorneys may not have fully considered. Let me explain. In New York, where Noah performed the joke, there is a law specifically designed to protect people from SLAPP suits. It's called New York's anti-SLAPP statute, Civil Rights Law Section 76A and 70A, and it allows a defendant in a case like this to file what's called an anti-SLAPP motion, which basically says, this lawsuit is an abuse of the legal system designed to silence my constitutionally protected speech, and the court should throw it out immediately. If Noah's legal team files an anti-SLAPP motion and wins, which given the facts here is highly likely, two things happen. First, the lawsuit gets dismissed before it ever goes to trial. Second, Melania Trump would be required to pay Noah's legal fees, all of them. That means instead of silencing Noah, Melania Trump could end up funding his legal defense and handing him a public relations victory that amplifies the very story she's trying to suppress. But it gets even more interesting because under New York law, if Noah files an anti-SLAPP motion, he can also engage in limited discovery before the motion is decided. That means he can subpoena documents. He can request communications. He can potentially depose witnesses. And that opens the door to exactly the kind of sworn testimony that Melania Trump's legal team has been working so hard to avoid. Now, let's zoom out for a second because Trevor Noah is not the only person Melania Trump is threatening. This is part of a coordinated legal campaign. Author and journalist Michael Wolff, who wrote Fire and Fury and conducted extensive interviews with Jeffrey Epstein before his death, has been threatened with $1 billion lawsuit for reporting that Epstein claimed Donald Trump first had sex with Melania on Epstein's private jet. Wall did not back down. He filed a preemptive anti-SLAPP lawsuit in New York State Court seeking a declaratory judgment that his reporting is protected speech. That case is ongoing. Political commentator James Carville made comments on a podcast suggesting Melania Trump had connections to Epstein's world. He was threatened with a lawsuit. He apologized and retracted. The Daily Beast published a story about Melania Trump's past and her potential ties to Epstein's social circle. They were threatened with a lawsuit. They retracted the story entirely. Multiple journalists have told me off the record that they have been contacted by Melania Trump's legal team and warned not to pursue certain lines of reporting. See the pattern? This is not about one joke. This is not about one article. This is a systematic effort to create a chilling effect across media, entertainment, and journalism. The goal is to make it so dangerous, so expensive, so legally risky to talk about Melania Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein that people simply stopped doing it. And for a while, it was working. But then something changed. The Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of Epstein files in late January 2026. Those files included photographs, witness statements, flight logs, and other documents showing that Melania Trump was in fact part of Jeffrey Epstein's social circle in the late 1990s and early 2000s. She attended parties. She was photographed at his properties. She was on his plane. None of this proves she knew about or participated in his crimes, but it does prove that the connection is real, documented, and part of the public record. And once that information became public through official government channels, Melania Trump's legal strategy started to look less like a defense of her reputation and more like an attempt to suppress factually accurate reporting about her past. From a legal perspective, that is a critical distinction because defamation law in the United States is built on a simple principle. You cannot sue someone for saying something that is true. The truth is an absolute defense to defamation, always. So, what happens now? Let's walk through the scenarios. Scenario 1. Melania Trump's legal team actually files a lawsuit against Trevor Noah. If they do, Noah's lawyers will almost certainly file an anti-SLAPP motion, arguing that his joke is protected speech, that it is based on publicly available information, and that the lawsuit is designed to chill constitutionally protected expression. The court will likely agree. The case will be dismissed. Melania Trump will be ordered to pay Noah's legal fees. And the story becomes, First Lady tries to silence comedian, loses, and has to pay his legal bills. That is a public relations disaster. Scenario 2, Melania Trump's legal team never actually files the lawsuit. They just keep the threat hanging over Noah's head, hoping he'll back down. But if Noah refuses to apologize, refuses to retract, and continues to reference the topic in his comedy, the threat loses its power. Other comedians see that Noah didn't back down and nothing happened. Journalists see it too. And suddenly, the chilling effect starts to thaw. Scenario 3. This is the one that should worry the White House the most. Trevor Noah, or one of the other people being threatened, decides to go on offense. They file a preemptive lawsuit like Michael Wolff did, seeking a declaratory judgment that their speech is protected. And once that happens, discovery begins, subpoenas get issued, depositions get scheduled, and Melania Trump may find herself in the very situation her legal team has been desperately trying to avoid. Under oath. In a courtroom answering questions about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, from a prosecutor's perspective, this is what we call overreach. Melania Trump's legal team got aggressive. They went after journalists. They went after a major media outlet. They went after James Carville. And it worked for a while, but then they went after a comedian with a massive platform, significant resources, and a legal team that understands anti-SLAPP law. And that may have been a mistake. Because here's the thing about SLAPP suits, they only work if the target is afraid. If the target has the resources to fight back, and if the target has a legal argument that the lawsuit is abusive, the whole strategy collapses. And in this case, Trevor Noah has both. He has the money to hire top-tier lawyers. He has a clear First Amendment argument. And he has the kind of public platform that makes this fight very, very visible. Now let me put this in the broader context because Trevor Noah is not the only high-profile figure being threatened right now. Hunter Biden, the president's son from the previous administration, was also threatened with a billion-dollar lawsuit by Melania Trump's legal team for comments he made about her past. Hunter Biden refused to back down. No lawsuit has been filed against him either. Why? Because Melania Trump's legal team knows that if they actually file these lawsuits, they will have to go through discovery. And discovery is where secrets die. Discovery is the process where both sides get to request documents, communications, and testimony from the other side. If Melania Trump sues Trevor Noah, Noah's lawyers get to ask her questions under oath. They get to request documents related to her time in New York in the late 1990s. They get to ask about her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. They get to ask about the parties she attended. They get to ask about the photograph. And all of that happens in a public courtroom on the record with transcripts that anyone can access. That is why these lawsuits never get filed. The threat is the point. Filing the lawsuit opens the door to exactly the kind of scrutiny that the First Lady's legal team is trying to prevent. So they send the threatening letters, they demand apologies, they demand retractions, and they count on people being too afraid, too expensive, or too exhausted to fight back. But Trevor Noah is not James Carville. He's not a small media outlet. He's one of the most successful comedians in the world. He has a massive audience. He has significant resources, and he has a legal argument that is rock solid. His joke was based on publicly available information. It was clearly satire, and it is protected by the First Amendment. Any judge who looks at this case will see that immediately. So, here's what I think happens next. Melania Trump's legal team will continue to threaten Trevor Noah, hoping he backs down. But if he doesn't, they have a choice: file the lawsuit and risk a very public legal loss, or let the threat expire and accept that their intimidation strategy has limits. Either way, the legal war Melania Trump is waging against journalists, commentators, and now comedians is starting to show cracks, because the more people she threatens, the more people start asking, what is she so afraid of? If the connection to Epstein is as innocent as her team claims, why threaten a billion-dollar lawsuit over a 20-second joke? If the public record documents are inaccurate or misleading, why not release additional information to clarify? Why hire one of the largest law firms in the world to fight a comedian? The answer from a prosecutor's perspective is simple. People who have nothing to hide don't usually threaten billion-dollar lawsuits to stop people from talking. People who have nothing to hide don't avoid process servers. People who have nothing to hide don't demand that journalists retract factually accurate stories. People who have nothing to hide don't act like this. And that is the real story here. Not the joke, not the lawsuit threat, but the pattern, the coordinated effort to silence anyone who connects Melania Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. The aggressive legal posture, the billion-dollar threats, the retractions, the apologies, the chilling effect. All of it points to one conclusion. There is something in Melania Trump's past, something related to her time in Jeffrey Epstein's world, that she does not want the public to know. And she is willing to use every legal tool available to keep it buried. But here's the thing about the truth: it doesn't stay buried forever. Especially not when the government has already released millions of pages of documents proving that the connection existed. Especially not when journalists like Michael Wolff are willing to fight back in court, and especially not when a comedian with one of the biggest platforms in the world decides that a 20-second joke is worth defending. Trevor Noah has not apologized. He has not retracted. And as far as anyone can tell, he has not stopped making jokes about the people in power. If Melania Trump's legal team actually files this lawsuit, they will hand Noah the biggest platform he's ever had to talk about this story. Every legal filing will be public. Every court hearing will be covered by the media. Every deposition, every piece of discovery, every legal argument will be scrutinized by the press and by the public. And that is the backfire. The lawsuit threat was supposed to make Trevor Noah go quiet. Instead, it may end up giving him the legal tools and the public attention to make the story bigger than it ever would have been otherwise. From a strategic perspective, that is a miscalculation. And it is one that the First Lady's legal team may come to regret. The Trevor Noah lawsuit threat is not an isolated incident. It is part of a broader legal strategy by the First Lady to control the narrative around her past. But that strategy only works if people are afraid. And right now, Trevor Noah does not look afraid. Michael Wolff does not look afraid. And the journalists who have been watching this unfold are starting to realize that the billion-dollar threats are not backed up by actual lawsuits. So what happens next? The legal fight is far from over. Michael Wolff's case is still working its way through the courts. The Epstein files are still being analyzed. And Trevor Noah's joke is still out there on the internet for anyone to see. The First Lady can threaten. She can demand. She can hire the best lawyers in the world. But she cannot change the fact that the public record now includes documents showing her connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and she cannot stop people from talking about it without proving in a court of law that what they are saying is false. And that is a case she cannot win, because the truth is the truth. The photographs exist, the documents exist, the witness statements exist, and no amount of legal threats can make that go away. Stay informed. This story is far from over. The legal battle is just beginning, and the stakes have never been higher.